Nun Aleph Amud Aleph, about 8 lines down. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Bar Avua, Amar Rav. Avodas kochavim she'ovdin osa b'makal. If there's an ovei kochavim that you serve b'makal, shavar makal b'faneha chaya v'ne'eseres, zarak makal lefaneha chaya ve'ena ne'eseres. Nun Aleph Amud Aleph, 9 lines down. If you serve the avodah zarah with a rod, so there's 2 things. First of all, are you chaya for serving the avodah zarah? And is the actual rod then asur or mutter? So if you serve it with a makal, so either way, if you break the makal or throw the makal at it, since that's a way of serving it, that's going to make you chaya for serving avodah zarah. But if you break the makal in front of it, then the makal is asur. And if you don't break the makal, you just throw it, then the makal is not asur, because you can be chaya for serving avodah zarah, but the object will only be asur if it's used in a way that they used in the Beis Hamikdash, or in the Mishkan, if you remember. Yeah. So over here, when you break the makal, that's similar to the way that they used to serve in the Beis Hamikdash, ke'ein what? Ke'ein zvicha, ke'ein shchita. When you break the makal, that's like shechting the animal. When you throw the makal, there's no equivalent in the temple. I Amalei Rav Nachman Maishna Shever Dahavi Le Ke'ein Zvicha Zarak Navi Havi Le Ke'ein Zrika. But if breaking it is like shachting, then throwing it is like zrika, is like throwing the blood in the Beis Hamikdash. Amalei Ba'inan Zrika Mishtaberes Veleka. What happens when you throw the blood in the Beis Hamikdash? The blood goes all over the place. You take blood and you throw it, and it spreads all over the place. When you take this rod and you throw it, it doesn't actually break. If you break it, that's zvicha. If you throw it and it broke when you throw it, then you can say that's zrika. But if you're just throwing the rod at the idol, there's no zrika there because it's not breaking or separating. Ela me'ata avnei beis morkulis bameh yasru. If that's so then why is it asur to throw rocks onto this pile of rocks that's considered to be markolis? At the end of the day, you're not breaking the rock, you're just throwing the rock, and we said breaking the rock would be zrika, but throwing the rock should be mutter because it's not zrika. Amarle af lididi kashli. I had the same kasha. Ushaltiel leRabba bar Avua. V'Rabba bar Avua asked lechia barav. V'chia barav asked Rav. V'amarle nase kemigdal avodas kochavim. What's the problem when you go ahead and you throw the stone onto this pile of stones? It's not, you're right, it's not a problem of zvicha. It's not a problem of zrika. What's it a problem of? You're actually going ahead and what? You're serving avodah zarah. Says Rashi, Kemigdal avodas kochavim, 5 lines up on the right. Hatosefes ala mokilis katan leasos markulis gadol visura mishum avodas kochavim atzma velo mishum tikroves. It's only going to be asur al the Beis Hamikdash when you're dealing with tikroves avodah zarah, not the actual worshiping, but it's something that's used in the worship. But when you're dealing with actually serving the avodah zarah, so then lemaisa it needs to be done in this. So then it doesn't have to be done in the same way as it's done in the Beis Hamikdash. One second. That's only works if you're saying that the avodas kochavim that you put is asher miyad. That means you throw this rock onto the thing, so now it becomes part of the avodas kochavim, becomes part of this idol, and now even if it's not yet worshipped, it's going to be a problem. As opposed to the stick again, which is not something that you're making part of the idol. You're just using it in the worship of the idol. You can't worship the idol with the stick, but if you use the stick to worship the idol, unless you're using the stick in a way that's used in the Beis Hamikdash. So again, if you're actually contributing to the idol, you're building the idol, that thing becomes an idol, that's going to be asur ba'ana. But if it's something that's used to worship the idol, it's only asur if you use it to worship in the way that they use it in the Beis Hamikdash. So again, with the stick, you worship the idol with the stick, that's asur, you're chayav. But the stick itself only becomes asur if it's used in the way that would be the equivalent of a malach in the Beis Hamikdash. But this is all when you're adding the rock and you're saying it's asur to add the rock, even though there's no zrika, even though there's no zvicha, it's asur because you're actually adding to the avodah zarah. This rock is becoming part of the avodah zarah. That's only according to the Mandamar, who says that avodas kochavim, that avodah zarah becomes asur as soon as you set it aside. before you even serve it. Because now you're throwing the rock, you're not serving it yet. Right. And Lamaisa, we're saying that it's aser. But according to the one who says that it's only aser once you serve it, why when you throw a rock onto the pile, does that rock become aser? It should only become aser after you then go ahead and serve the pile again, after you put on your new rock. That what? Rashi.
Each one you
V'tikroves lechaverta le'inyan shetehei chaverta nevda mimena v'nesra mimena chaverta mishum avodas kochavim v'niteres bebitul aval tikroves lemeheve zivchei meitzim she'miten lames lo hava dekein panim ba'inan u'maka lo isavav avodas kochavim v'shari legamri. So what's the problem here? Is that each one le'inyan shetehei chaverta nevda mimena v'nesra mimena chaverta mishum avodas kochavim. Each one, when you throw the rock, like when I throw a little rock onto it, so each one is basically becoming usher, because now, by definition, when I throw that rock, the other ones are all being worshipped. As I throw the rock, the pile's being worshipped. Says Gemara, Ihachi basraisa mia tishtari. But one second. If it's true that it's usher only if it's done like the Beis HaMikdash, and you're telling me, no, the problem was that it becomes part of the rock, it becomes part of the pile. So if you hold that once it becomes part of the pile, it's usher before it's even worshipped, fine. Then I understand why this rock is usher. But if I say that when I throw a rock onto the pile, so now at the end of the day, what? Now all the rocks are usher because I'm worshiping them by throwing this rock. But this last one, right, again, it becomes part of the pile, but it hasn't yet been worshipped itself. It's been used to worship the other ones. Right. It hasn't been worshipped itself. And we're saying, according to the Mandiyama, who says that until it's worshipped, it's not aser. Right. And we're also saying that it's not being used in a service that's similar to the temple, because you're not doing zricha, you're not doing zricha. So this last rock that I throw, all the other ones that I threw beforehand, when I threw them, they were mutter. But when I threw the next one after that, they all became aser because they've all been, as I throw the next one, the one before it has now been worshipped. But the last one has not yet been worshipped. When I throw it, I'm serving the avodah zarah, but it's considered as if I took a makal and I threw the makal at the avodah zarah, where I worshipped avodah zarah with the makal. I worshipped avodah zarah with this last stone, but the makal itself is not aser. This last stone should not be aser. Says the Gemara, Amar lei yadas leizil shekel. You're right. If you can find that last rock, you're going to take it home and enjoy it and do whatever you're going to do with rocks. Rav Ashi Amar, no. Kol achas ve'achas nases tikroves la'atzma v'tikroves lechaverta. Says the Gemara, Rashi to the right, Sharei ein la'avodah acheres ala zrika v'tikrasa nases avodas kochavim nevedes v'afilu achron nesoin avodas kochavim atzma. You're understanding it wrong. And this is why what I was just explaining maybe didn't sit well with you. When you throw that rock, it's not that now everything else is being served and this rock is innocent. That rock, by definition, is part of the avodah zarah process. And when I throw that rock, I'm actually serving avodah zarah, not just serving other avodah zarahs with a makkah, with a random stick. That rock is being used to serve avodah zarah, but it's also becoming part of the avodah zarah at the same time. Therefore, the rocks are going to be different than the stick. The stick is being used to serve an avodah zarah. That's a tikrovetz avodah zarah. That'll be usher to do, but the stick itself won't be usher afterwards. But here, it's not like I'm using a random third party to serve the avodah zarah. It's becoming part of the avodah zarah as I use it to serve the avodah zarah. It's all one and the same, and therefore the entire pile of rocks, even the last rock, will be usher to use. Zok the Gemara, Rav Ashi Tnan. Matzah birosho ksus sumo so kelim are'elim mutar. This will be the next Mishnah. If you find on the head of the avodah zarah a ksus, which is like clothing, or mos, or money, or kelim, utensils, hare'elim mutar, and you can use them. Even if they were used, or let's see, if we assume that they're used to serve the avodah zarah, maybe they're used to serve the avodah zarah, but they're not part of the avodah zarah itself. So if you find any of these three things, if you find clothing or money or kalim on the avodah zarah, you don't assume it's part of the avodah zarah, which we're going to refer to as noi, to beautify the avodah zarah. We don't assume that it's used to beautify the avodah zarah. Parchili anavim v'atar shel shibalim, if you use vines of grapes or ataros of shibalim, wreaths of grain, v'yenos or yayin, shemen, V'salatos flour, v'chol davar shekayotze bo karav l'gab mizbeach aser. If you find any of these things, then you assume that they were used either to beautify it, or they were used what? Or they were used in the service that was similar to the service used in the temple. They used to throw wine, they used to throw oil, they would throw flour in the temple. Therefore, if you went ahead and you found it on the Avodah Zarah, you could assume that it was served in the same way, in the same manner, and therefore, not only again is it usher, it's always usher to serve the avodah zarah, but these items will become usher because we assume that they were used, and if they were used, then by definition they were used in the same way that they were used in the mikdash, and they're going to be usher. Bishlama yeno shmanim v'salatus ika ke'ein panim v'ika ke'ein zrikas mishtaberes. I understand why if you find wine or oil or flour on this avodah zarah, you're going to say it's usher because first of all they used it in the Beis HaMikdash. What?
Salad-torah is not salads?
No, I thought it was. Salad is flour. No, but salad might be salad. You never know. So if you find these things, so then you can assume that it was used for the avodah zarah in the same way that it's used in the Beis HaMikdash. Yeah. And what? How did you use it? With zrika, that they threw the flour onto the avodah zarah, which has zrika, and it's mishtaberes, and it spreads out. Same thing with shemen and oil, shemen and wine. Ela parchile navatar shel shibal lokein panim ika v'lokein zrika mishtaberes ika. Why are these vines of grapes and these wreaths of grain aser? Even if they threw it at the avodah zarah, at the end of the day, it's not a zrika that breaks. It's not similar to something that they use inside the Beis HaMikdash. Amar Rav Amar Ula kegon shebatzran mitchila lekach. They broke it off from the beginning for this. What does it mean that they broke it off from the beginning to this? Rashi, Litzorach avodas kochavim ubebitzrusan avdal avodas kochavim dave keshever maka lefanea dedami lizvicha. Fascinating. When they went in and they broke off the grain, or they broke off the vine, at that time they were using it lavodas kochavim. They were using intention that I'm serving avodah zarah by breaking off this vine. When you break off the vine, what's that? That's ke'ilu you did what? Zvicha. That's a shchita in the base. Zvicha and shchita the same. That's a shchita in the Beis HaMikdash. So the actual breaking of the vine, the breaking of the grain, in that I say, l'shem yichu kucha brichu shchinte la'avodah zarah. I break it. I have the avodah zarah that I'm serving. I have what? I have the breaking, which is the equivalent of an avodah bifnim, which is shchita / zvicha, and therefore that's why it's asur. Not because we're worried that you threw it at the avodah zarah, because if it was just about throwing it at the avodah zarah, that's not ke'ein zrika of the Beis HaMikdash, because it's not spreading, it's not breaking. They didn't used to throw that stuff. But if you're going to talk about breaking, then you have an avodah that's similar. Not that they broke grape or broke grains. It's that it has to be a similar avodah. When they broke it, l'shem avodah zarah, at that moment you were doing something that was a similar avodah to the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore it's going to be asur.
Don't we do that with shmur matzah? The guys that are out there in the field, when they cut it, don't they say l'shem?
Yeah, but they cut it l'shem a mitzvah, not l'shem.
Yeah, but it's the same Indian. They say l'shem mitzvah is shmur.
You're supposed to. Well, there's a whole discussion about whether it's watched over exactly how machmer, right, or whether it's washed over from the time of the cutting, right, etc. So also, when you go to a matzah factory, so they have all those women that are making the dough, who barely speak Hebrew, a lot of them, but they all say l'shem mitzvahs matzah each time, whenever they throw them the little breads.
So it's the same Indian.
Salk the Gemara.
So if let's say that it's not the same as in the Beis HaMikdash, but it's the way the goyim serve their avodah zarah. They put grapevines out or whatever it is.
So again, so it would be usher to do, but the actual item would not be usher.
Because it's not like the Beis HaMikdash.
Because only in terms of hana.
Right.
But you still be chayiv.
Still be chayiv, of course. That's what we said. You're chayiv all these things. The question is in just or no. Now listen to this one. What happens if I shechta behema? That would be usher as a. This is actually a good lead-in. If I shechta behema, that would be usher as a korban. If I shechta to avodah zarah. Zok the Gemara. Amar Rava Amar Yochanan. Minayin lezoveach behema balas mum lavodas chavim shehu pater. You're not considered to be chayiv if you shecht a korban that would have been usher to bring as a Jewish korban. If you bring that to an avodas kochavim, you're going to be pater of serving avodah zarah. Shenemar zoveach leluhim yecheram bilti lashem livado lo asra Torah ella ke'ein panim. It can only be something that's like in the Beis HaMikdash, and just like you can only bring a non-Baal Mum in the Beis HaMikdash, so too if you take and shecht a Baal Mum to an avodah zarah, you will not be chayiv.
But the mice is still the same. Like proper shechting, because if it wasn't proper shechting, would that change?
Seemingly, if it's not proper shechting, it wouldn't be anyway. So using a regular animal happens to have a mum, but you're doing a proper shechita on the animal. Kosher animal just happens to have a mum. Havi be Rava b'mai. Says Rava, what kind of mum are we talking about? Elima bedokin sheba ayin. It has a cataract. Hashta livnei Noach chazu legavoa bebama ditu lavar chavim ibaye. When it was the time of Bnei Noach, back in the day before the Torah was given, we were all Bnei Noach, we knew that those were kosher lemizbeach, quote unquote. They used to bring those on the bamas all the time. So if it was good enough for Bnei Noach, clearly it's going to be good enough for Avodas Kochavim. So if you take something that has a cataract in the eye, that's not considered to be a problem, and therefore it will be usher. It actually goes back to your question a second though. If you have a cataract, is an animal with a cataract usher lemizbeach? Sounds like it is Aser Mizbeach. Not for Bnei Noach, but I'm saying now, in the base of Mikdash, it sounds like a cataract would be Aser. Right. And it goes back to your question that if you serve it in the way that they serve the Avodas Kochavim, it would be Aser. Even if it's something that we don't necessarily do in the base of Mikdash. Because again, you're giving an example here of a cataract, which is Aser, seemingly, I think, Limizbeach, and yet they used it. And as long as it's something that they used, if you then go ahead and do something that they use and you serve it in the way that they would serve the Avodah Zarah, it'll be Aser. So they use it. No, because the question was maybe it has to be something only the way that we would use it. So it's no, it's the way that they would use it. So since Bnei Noach back in the day would serve an animal with a cataract, so too we can to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we assume that Avodas Kochavim for sure they serve Avodas Kochavim, they serve their idols with animals with cataracts. Therefore, if you go ahead and serve an idol with an animal with a cataract, it's going to be Aser. So that can't be the case where it says Baal Mum that you serve to Avodah Zarah is going to be Pater. What must be the case? It must be a case where they wouldn't serve it either. How do we know that they wouldn't serve it either? We know that they wouldn't serve it either if Bnei Noach couldn't serve it. We're going to go through this whole discussion now about what Noach was allowed to bring on the teva, and Rashi points out the important point to realize is that we assume that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew and that Noach knew that the stuff he was bringing on the teva, he would bring korbanos afterwards. Therefore, we can learn that anything that he brought onto the teva needed to be fit to be able to be brought as a korban after he went ahead and came out. That's why they only brought kosher animals onto the. That's why 7 of each, right? To bring right. So Eli medog shabayin hashaliv neinoach chazi legavot b'maka b'bama ditulah v'schavim mibai ela b'mechusar aver. It must be that it's missing an aver, and since the Avodas Kochavim wouldn't bring it because Bnei Noach wouldn't bring it, therefore, if we bring it to Avodas Kochavim, we're not going to be chayiv. I wouldn't suggest to do it at home. It's not the best thing in the world. Your parents won't be proud of you, but you're not going to be chayiv. Uchad Rabbi Lazar d'Amar Rabbi Lazar minayin lemechusar aver shehu aser livnei Noach shenarmar mikol achai mikol basar shnai mikol. This may ring a bell. Anybody ring a bell for this? Does this ring a bell? We saw this Parshas Noach. We also saw it on Hayom and Aleph in the beginning of the Masechta, 45 blot ago. We had this exact Gemara. Says the Gemara, Mikol Achai, Mikol Basar, Shnai, Mikol. Amar Torah, it needs to be Mikol Achai. Havei Behema Shechayin. Rasha Yevarin Shalah. You have to bring behemoths where their main organs are still alive. That means it can't be something that's missing an aver. So just like by Noach it couldn't be missing an aver, so to the Avodas Kochavim it can't be missing an aver. Therefore, if we go ahead and bring one that's missing an aver, not a good thing, but we're not going to be chayiv. Hayu Mikol Achai Mibar Leil Mute Treifa. That can't be Mikol Achai to teach me if it's missing an aver. Mikol Achai excludes a treifa, which according to most means it's going to die within 12 months. Milahacha Yozera Nafka. No, a treifa is excluded from Lahacha Yozera, since the treifa cannot procreate. Milahacha Yozera needs to be able to procreate. Hashem tells Noach that excludes a treifa. Mikol Achai can exclude if it's missing an aver. Hanich Laman Damar Treifa and Yoledas. That's only good if you tell me a treifa doesn't give birth. Elaman Damar Treifa Yoledas Meikol Amema. If you tell me that a treifa can still procreate, then the fact that it has to be Lahacha Yozera does not exclude a treifa. And therefore, you need Mikol Achai to exclude a treifa. Amar Kra Itach Bidomin Lacha. It needs to be similar to you. So it needs to be similar to you. That's going to exclude a treifa. So itach excludes a treifa because it needs to be similar to you, Noach, and you're not a treifa. You're not going to die within 12 months, and therefore Mikol Achai can exclude something that's missing an aver. Zak the Gemara v'dilma Noach gufei treifa have. Maybe Noach was a treifa. This question is very hard to understand because we know, right? We had the same question though, but again, Noach is a treifa. That means Noach is going to die within 12 months. Noach lived I don't even know how many years. He lived hundreds of years. How many?
950.
No, but after the Mabul.
He lived 350.
350 after the Mabul. So what does it mean he was a treifa? So maybe either when he got on the table he was a treifa, or maybe we assumed he was a treifa. It says in Gemara he was a treifa. Tamim ksiv bei, no, it says tamim. Dilma tamim bidrachav. That means that emotionally, spiritually he was whole, but physically he was a treifa. Tzadik ksiv bei, he was a tzaddik. Dilma tamim bidrachav et tzadik b'masav. He was still spiritually a tzaddik and a tamim. He was whole and he was tzaddik, but he was a treifa. Says in Gemara, no, lo matzis amrs de noach gufei treifa. He says no, he can't be a treifa by logic, because what does God say? Itach, like you. Then Hashem is basically telling him, take treifa animals just like you. Only take treifa animals. Can't be. So now the Gemara says, well, okay, so where are we holding now? Itach means what? To exclude a treifa, because Noach wasn't a treifa, right? Mikol achai, what? Excludes if it's missing an aver. So what do I need lahacha yozera for? What else is being excluded by something that can't procreate? If you say that it can't be, it needs to be like you, then you might think you bring on things that are just serving companionship. Vafilu zakin, vafilu saris. You bring on the old animals and the animals that can't have children, even though they're not treifas, but lamaisa you bring them on. Kamash malan lahacha yozera. No, there's a third category of lachir zera. So you have three categories. The animals that they brought onto the teva, which again by definition were animals that they were going to serve after the teva and after the mabul was over, which by definition would be the animals that avodah zara would serve to their avodah zaras. So what are those? It needs to be mikol hachai, to exclude missing an aver, itach, to exclude treifas, and lahacha yozera, to exclude things that are not treifas and not missing an aver but can't procreate. So it needs to not be a treifa, can't be missing an aver, and has to be able to procreate. Therefore, when it says that if you bring something to the avodas kochavim, you are going to be pater, it means if you bring something to avodas kochavim of baal mum. What's a baal mum? First of all, it doesn't mean treifa, but if it was a treifa, you're right, you're going to be pater. Seemingly, according to this, the Gemara doesn't suggest this, but if it's a zakein or a sris that you bring to avodas kochavim, seemingly according to this Gemara, you also would not be chayav, because it's not something that they would bring. And finally, what we were bringing, if it's missing an aver, you also would not be chayav. Not a good thing, parents wouldn't be proud of you, but not something that you'd be chayav for bringing to an avodah zarah, because bnei Noach wouldn't bring it, and therefore avodas kochavim will not bring it. That is what we call glut. Zak the Gemara, Amar Balazar, minayin l'shochet behema l'morkula shehu chayav. How do you know that if you shech the behema to the markulish you're chayiv? Now again, we're talking about shechting balmum, so now we're done with that. So now we're talking about yishach the behema that's not a balmum to an avodas kochavim, you're going to be chayiv. But what happens if you shecht it to an avodas kochavim that they don't usually shech behemas to, like a markulis? They don't shecht it to markulises. They throw rocks at markulises. They don't shech behemas in front of markulises. How do you know that if you serve an avodah zara in a way that it's not usually served, that you're still going to be chayiv? If you shech the animal, even if they don't usually shech the animal to the avodah zara, you're going to be chayiv. Zak the Gemara, shenemar v'lo yizbechuot as ivchayim l'seirim. You shouldn't go ahead and bring as a zavach. You shouldn't shecht animals to the demons. Im eino inu likedarka. It can't mean that you can't shecht animals to demons, or that you can't shecht animals to avodah zara. Pashup shat. Why? Because we already have a pasuk that says d'chsiv eicha yavdu hagoyim elas Elohim. You can't serve avodah zara the way that the goyim serve their avodah zara. Tneu inyan l'shalo gedarka. Therefore, it's telling you not only are you chayiv for serving avodah zara in the way that they serve it, by bringing and shachting behemas to avodah zaras in the way that they bring behemas and shach that avodah zara, but even if you serve avodah zara in a way that they don't serve it, and you shach to an avodah zara that they don't usually shach to, you're going to be chayiv as well from this pasuk of v'lo yizvechuod as ivchayim l'seirim. Says the Gemara,
because that's the way it's done in the Beis Hamikdash.
Not because that's the way it's done in the Beis Hamikdash, because the extra pasuk says that you can't shach to them even if they don't usually shach to it. No connection to the Beis Hamikdash. Beis Hamikdash is talking about stuff that's used as a tikroves avodah zara. When we use the makal or something, this you're actually shechting the animal to avodah zara. The animal itself, l'shem yichud avodah zara. So that animal itself is being shechted to avodah zara. But again, you might say that if they don't usually serve the avodah zara in that manner, you might not be chayiv. Says Gemara, you're chayiv anyway because of this pasuk. The lo yizbechuod as ivchayim. The only problem is that we already use this pasuk for something else. The halahachi hudasa. It comes for that. Hamibayle lichidetani. We need it for something else. Ad kan. Let's just give a little bit of background for 1 second. Before the Mishkan was around, they were able to bring animals on bamas. on personal bamas, personal altars. Once the Mishkan came around, you can no longer bring it on bamas, you have to bring it in the Mishkan. Now the question the Gemara is going to have is, let's say I went ahead and I consecrated an animal to bring on a bama before the Mishkan was built. Can I now bring it on the bama after the Mishkan is built because I sort of started the process before the Mishkan was built? It's always a Gemara cup. The Gemara always has a Gemara cup, always thinking of these interesting questions. So the Gemara says, it's going to use this pasuk to tell you the answer is no. Adkan hu medaber bekachim teikdisham b'shas isur habamos v'ikrivam b'shas isur habamos. If you take an animal after the Mishkan was already built, and you consecrated it after the Mishkan was built, and you brought it on a bama after the Mishkan was built, sharei onshan amar, what's the onesh? You get kares, shenamar v'el pesach ol meid lo hevio, etc., etc., v'nichras hahishahu mikarav amo. So if you do everything after the Mishkan was built, you get kares. Onesh shamanu asar minayin, that's the onesh. Where do you see there's a punishment? Talmud lomar pen ta'aleh olasecha. Hishamalacha pen ta'aleh olasecha b'chomakom asher tira. There's a law, or there's a warning not to bring anything wherever you want, only in the Mishkan. What happens if you do? If you do, then v'nichras. You have the onesh, and beforehand you have the warning. That's if you do everything after the Mishkan is built. That is teaching me that there's a lo saseh, which the onesh then comes chi of kares if you shacht an animal that was consecrated after the Mishkan was built. Back in the Brisa, mikan ve'elach, but what happens if you go ahead and you take an animal and consecrate it when you were mutter to bring it on a bamos? Then v'ikrivan b'shas isra bamos, and you're makriv it after the Mishkan is built. Shenamar lemana asher yaviu b'nei Yisrael zivcheim asher heim zovchem. There's another pasuk that says that you're bringing the zivchayim that you're zovchim al penei asadeh. The pasuk reads, "Aman asher aviu es bnei Yisrael zivchayim asher heim zovchim al penei asadeh vehaviu l'Hashem." Says the Gemara, "Laman asher yaviu bnei Yisrael zivchayim asher heim zovchim shehitarti lecha kvar." Even the ones that I was mutter to you before, I told you to build the Mishkan. If you put those aside and then you shech them after the Mishkan al penei asadeh, I still go in and treat al penei asadeh that you bring it to avodah zarah. Melamed shekol zovech b'bama b'shas isra bamos male alav akasav keilu zovech al penei asadeh. If you shecht it after the Mishkan is around, even if you set it aside before the Mishkan, you're still going to be aser. Vehavium l'Hashem. So what do you have to do with that animal? Ve'vium Hashem zu mitzvahs aseh. So there's a mitzvahs aseh to bring it to Hashem. Now, is there kares for that or no kares? Well, it's not clear. Says the Gemara, mitzvahs lo saseh minayin. Where do you see that there's an isser lo saseh? That means there's a mitzvahs aseh to bring it to Hashem once the Mishkan is built, even if you consecrated it before the Mishkan was built. But where do you see that there's an actual lo saseh to then bring it on a bama after the Mishkan is built? Talmud lomar, our pasuk that we used on the last daf for something else. V'lo yizbechu od as zivchayim. You can't bring it as a zevach even after the Mishkan is built, even though it was consecrated before the Mishkan. Yochol yeh onish karis. You might think it's karis. Talmud lomar chukas olam tiyeh zos lahem v'lo acheres lahem. So it comes out again that if you consecrate an animal before the Mishkan is built and you bring it after the Mishkan is built, you are over a lo saseh. This lo saseh v'lo yizbechu od as zivchayim. You're not going to be chayiv karis for it though. If you bring an animal after the Beis Hamikdash, after the Mishkan was built, you consecrate it and bring it. That means you do the consecration even after the Mishkan is built and you were commanded not to. Then there's another Isser of Kares, not just a Lo Saseh, but an Isser of Kares. But for our purposes, the point is that this pasuk that we used to show that even if you consecrated it before the Mishkan was built, it's still usher to bring it afterwards. The pasuk that they used was V'lo yivzbechu od as zivchayim. So if that's used over there to tell me you can't bring something that was consecrated before the Mishkan was built, after the Mishkan is consecrated, you can't go ahead and bring it, even though you consecrated it before, how can you use that very same pasuk on the bottom over here to tell me that you can't shecht a behema, even if that's not the normal way of service to the avodas kochavim? Says the Gemara, Amar Rava, Kari be v'lo yizbechu, v'kari be v'lo od. When it says v'lo yizbechu, it could have just said v'lo yizbechu as zivchayim. The fact that it says v'lo yizbechu od as zivchayim, it's teaching me two things: v'lo yizbechu and v'lo od. It's teaching me first of all this idea that if you consecrate it beforehand and you bring it afterwards, you're over a lo saseh, even though it's not chayiv kares. And it's also teaching me another thing that you can shecht, i.e., you can shecht to the avodah zarah, even if that's not the normal way that they serve the avodah zarah. Zok the Mishnah. Matzah birosho mos ksus o kelim hare'elu mutarin parchili anavim v'atar shel shibalim v'yenos u'shmanim v'salatos v'chol davar shekayotze bo karav agabe mizbeach asur. That's what we just had. Zok the Gemara. Minahani mili. Where do we know that if I find money or a garment or kelim on the head, then it's going to be mutter behana, because I don't assume that it was done in the way that we do it in the Beis HaMikdash. Zok the Gemara, Amar Chia bar Yosef, Amar Rab Oshia, Kasuv Echad Omer, quote, Vatiru et shekutzehem ve'esgululeihem. You see they're discussing things, they're mizbechas, they're avodas kachavim. What is there? Eitz va'even kesev v'zahav asher imahem. It's eitz, it's even, it's kesev, it's zav. V'chasuv echad omer lo sachmod kesev v'zav aleim. So one pasuk when it talks about avodah zarah is talking about eitz, even, kesev, and zav, and the second pasuk only talks about kesev and zav. Ha-ketzad, why is there a difference? Imahem dum yada aleim. The first pasuk, in order to be aser, needs to be like the second pasuk. Ma aleim davar shel noi aser she'ino shel noi mutter. Just like the second pasuk quotes kesev zav, which is gold and silver, which are things that are placed on the idol to beautify the idol. Only things that are there to beautify the idol will become aser. Afimam davar shel noi aser v'she'ino shel noi mutter. That's why it says in the first pasuk eitz v'even, because eitz and even that are not used to beautify the avodah zarah will not be aser. So it comes out again that anything that's put onto an egel, put onto an avodah zarah to beautify the avodah zarah will be aser. Anything that's just put onto the avodah zarah stam will not be aser. Now this is not talking about again serving the avodah zarah. When we're talking about serving the avodah zarah, it needs to be done in a way that was done in the mikdash with the makal, with the stones, etc. Talking about now just the fact that I come to an idol and I see something on top of the idol and I say I really like that gold on top of the idol. Let me take that. You can't use it because you assume that it's part of the idol itself. As opposed to if you find eitz or even, if you find a rock or you find wood on top of the egel, top of the avodah zarah, you can take that. You don't assume that it was there to beautify the avodah zarah. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it should be the opposite and learn that learn to kesav izav, that's aser, that everything's aser, not just if it's dumya, not just if it's kesav and zav, but even eitz and even, which is not used for noi. Why are you learning from kesav and zav? Learn from eitz and even that even if it's not for beautifying the avodah zarah, it's going to be aser. Im kain lo yomar aleim. If that's true, it shouldn't have had the second pasuk. It already says eitz, even, kesav and zav. What do you have to repeat kesav and zav again? To teach me that when it says eitz, even, kesav and zav, it's dafka things that are used to beautify the avodah zarah. So now again,
beautify, what's it there for?
They just put it there, Stam. They use it to serve the avodah zarah. If it's not there to beautify, if it's beautifying,
if it's there to serve, you can't use it either.
Why not? If it was used to serve and it wasn't used to serve in the way that was used in the Beis HaMikdash, it's mutter. Remember, to crow is avodah zarah. If you use it to serve, like the makal, that's where it gets confusing. If it becomes part of the avodah zarah, it's aser forever. If it's used to serve the avodah zarah,
coin thing.
The coin thing, for instance, if you throw a coin and that's serving the avodah zarah, if it's not done in a way that it's used in the Beis HaMikdash, that coin is now not aser anymore. So Zok the Gemara, there's only one problem. I find money on top of the avodah zarah. Is that not really used to beautify? Maybe money. What do you mean money's not used to beautify an avodah zarah? When you go to the mall and you find all those coins in the water, that's beautifying the water over there. Mos davar shel noihu. Mos is a davar shel noi. Says the Gemara, Amri debei Rabbi Yanai bekis kasher v'tolo b'tzavara. You're right. If you find money on top of an avodah zarah, it was put there to beautify the avodah zarah, and it's going to be aser as part of the avodah zarah. When does it say that mos is going to be mutter? If it's inside of a bag that's tied and hanging on the neck of the avodah zarah, so you don't actually see the money. That wasn't there to beautify the avodah zarah. That was used for good luck or whatever to serve the avodah zarah. Ksus davar shel noihu. If you have a garment on top of the avodah zarah, that was used to beautify the avodah zarah. If they're dressing him up in a shirt, clearly they were doing it to make it beautiful. Right. No, we're not talking about. You're right. If it's a regular shirt that's on the avodah zarah, it's going to be aser. We assume it was used to beautify it. No, it's folded up in a weird way on top of its head, clearly as a joke or clearly to serve the avodah zarah, but not to beautify it. Kli davar shel noihu. You have kli limb. If you put a necklace on it or you put a nice thing on it, a kli on it, it's really used to beautify. Rav Papa dischifale miskilta areshe. No, it's an overturned kli that's usually used for water. A silly looking kli that they put on the head of the avodah zarah that clearly wasn't there to beautify it. But enachanami, if you find an item that you can suggest was used to beautify the avodah zarah, then in fact that item would be mutter. Amar Ravasi bar Chia, kol shehu lifnim min hakalkalim afilu mayim umelach aser. This is very interesting. Now they're adding another dimension, a lot of stuff here. So you have the avodah zarah here. It sounds like similar lahavdil to our kodesh kadashim. They used to put up a curtain in front of the avodah zarah. So now the question is, if you find something in front of the curtain, do we consider that it was used to serve the avodah zarah, to beautify the avodah zarah, or do we only make things that are asur that are found behind this curtain on the avodah zarah next to the avodah zarah itself? So it says the Gemara, Amar Rav Ashi bar Chiya, Kol shehu lifne min al kilkalim, anything that's on this side, the inside of the curtain, like inside the Kodesh Kadashim, quote unquote, afilu mayim umelach asur, even if it's mayim, even if it's water, even if it's salt, which is not used to beautify the avodah zarah, since it's inside, we assume that it was used to serve the avodah zarah. We assume that it becomes part of the avodah zarah and it's asur. Chutz la kilkalim, if it's outside of the curtain, then davar shel noi asur she'eno shel noi mutter. If it's outside, then it's only something that's a davar shel noi, something that's used to beautify. So it's interesting, it's fascinating. They didn't just put stuff on the avodah zarah to beautify it; they would put stuff in front of the curtain of the avodah zarah to beautify it. So behind the curtain is a lot more machmir. You have to worry that things were used to serve the avodah zarah, part of the avodah zarah, etc. Even mayim and melach is going to be asur. In front of the curtain, only if it's davar shel noi. That's what this whole mission is talking about. Amar Rav Yossi bar Chanina, Nakdina, we have a tradition, Ein kilkal and lola por velola barkalis. This whole thing with curtains doesn't apply to Baal Pa'or and to Markolis. Now, it could be either L'chomer or L'kula. Right. You could either say that even on the inside is not going to be a problem by those, or you could say that even on the outside is going to be a problem. So originally the Gemara suggests l'kula, l'mai, eili madafilu panim kechutz dami v'shari hashra pu'urei mefarin kamei mayim melech lo makriv alei. If you're going to say to tell me that everything is mutter, even mayim melech on the inside, that's ridiculous. They actually defecate on this avodah zarah. So to tell me that they're putting chashuv, something like mayim u'melech, which is chashuv, for sure they're using it as part of the avodah zarah. Ella, what is it saying? Afilu chutz kibifnim dami v'aser. When we talk about these two avodah zarahs, these are like the holiest avodah zarahs. Yeah, these are the most serious avodah zarahs. Therefore, by there, even things outside of the curtains are going to be a problem. Even if they're not used lanoi, we're going to assume that they were used to serve the avodah zarah, and they're going to be aser. So in general, we're going to be more machmir behind the curtains and a little bit more makel in front of the curtains. Only if it's used lanoi will it be a problem in front of the curtains. When it comes to paor and markelis, we're going to be machmir even in front of the curtains and assume the worst.
They're the big leaves.
Zak the Mishnah. Very interesting. They have here, avodah zarah, they have, let's say, a statue, like if you go to a botanical garden or something. So you have like the avodah zarah itself, and then in front of it you have like a garden or a river or a body of water. Now, they're not actually serving the water or the garden. If they did, then that's avodah zarah itself. Noi. But the question is, they're not even using it necessarily as a noi. They're just using it to beautify the area, and then you'll come and you'll serve the avodah zarah itself. But it's not necessarily, quote unquote, even beautifying the avodah zarah. Are you allowed to use those? Well, what would be the problem with using those? It's like supporting the church. You're giving money to the church. You're giving them to then use the money to build more avodah zarahs and to do more good things. Says the Gemara, avodas chacham shayala gina o merchatz nanin mehen shelo betova ve'enanin mehen betova. You can be nana from them if you don't pay monetary payments, but you can't be nana mehen if you pay monetary payments. So it sounds like there's nothing wrong with the gina or the merchatz itself. The problem would be paying the church or paying the priest to then use that stuff, which they'll then take the money and use it for avodah zarah. Haya shalav v'shalacherim, if it's a partnership where it belongs to the priest and to somebody else, nanin mehen betova and shalo betova. Then you can pay, it sounds like, as long as the money's not going directly to him. And another halach, it's avodas kochavim shal avodas kochavim asr miyad. If you have avodas kochavim of an ovei kochavim and he puts it aside, then it's asr right away, even before it's worshipped. B'shal Yisrael in asura acha tiyavid. And of a Jew, it's only going to be asr if you set it aside, only going to be asr once you worshipped it. Amar Abaye, Zak the Gemara, Bitova, Vitobas Komrin, Shalo Betobas Komrin. When it talks about the fact that you can't pay to use the gina or the merchatz in front of the avodah zarah, that's talking about paying the komer, paying the priest. But if you're just paying somebody that's taking care of it, like a worker, that's not going to be a problem. Zak the Gemara, Lafuke Tobas Ovdeh Deshari. You're allowed to pay a worker who's just working there. Ika Demasni La Seifa. Some people learn this on the Seifa, that what? We learned originally that the ratio is saying what? You can't pay the priest, but you could pay somebody else. But if it's a partnership, you could pay even the priest. Now the Gemara is suggesting maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's saying that even when it's a partnership, you can't pay the priest. And when it's not a partnership, then what? Let's see. Amar by betova is betova sacherim, shalo betova komer. There are those who learn that in the Seifa, even if there's a partnership, you can give the non-priest their share, but you can't give the priest their share because they're going to purchase more avodah zarah. If you're saying that you can't pay the priest when there's a partnership, clearly you can't pay the priest when he doesn't have a partnership. But the one who says you can't pay the priest when he's by himself, the one who says you can't pay the priest by himself would say that when there's a partnership, you're allowed to go ahead and pay him part of the money. Zok the Gemara. Final thing for today. If you have an idol of an Ovei Kochavim, it's going to be Aser before it's worshipped. If you have an idol of a Jew, then it will not be Aser till it's worshipped. Zak the Mishnah money. Zak the Gemara, who's the Mishnah like? Rabbi Akiva he. Detanya, it's Rabbi Akiva, because we see from these next 5 lines that Rabbi Shmuel says the opposite. Rabbi Shmuel says that if it belongs to a non-Jew, then it's not Aser till it's worshipped. And if it belongs to a Jew, it's Aser right away. As opposed to what we just said in our Mishnah, that if it belongs to a non-Jew, it's not Aser until what? It's Aser right away. And to a Jew, it's not Aser till it's worshipped. That it says in the Brisa, the Tanya Abeit Abdunas Kola Mikamos Asher Avdu Shama Goyim. You have to get rid of all the places and things that the Goyim worshipped. Bekelim Shenishtamshu Ben Avodas Kochavim Akasim Medaber, things that were used in actual worship. Yachol Asaum Velo Gamrum, if you made them and you didn't finish them. Gamrum Velo Avium, you finished them and you didn't bring them. Avium Velo Nishtamshu Ben, you brought them but you didn't use them. Yachol you asurim, you might think it's aser. Talmud lomar, it's only aser asher avdu shama goyim. She'ein asurin ad sheyavodu. It's only aser to use the idol of an ovei kochavim. It's only aser once it's been served. Mikan amru avodas kochavim shel ovei kochavim asur ad shetiyaved. V'shel Yisrael asura miyad divrei bishmal. That's the opposite of our Mishnah. If you set aside this thing for avodah zarah, an ovei kochavim sets it aside for avodah zarah, until it's worshipped, I can use it. Once it's worshipped, I can't use it. That's the opposite of our Mishnah, which says that when a non-Jew sets it aside for avodah zarah, it's aser right away, and only when a Jew sets it aside is it aser once it's worshipped. Rabbi Akiva omer chiluf advarim, like our Mishnah, avodas kochavim shel ovei kochavim asura miyad v'shel Yisrael ad shetei aved. It's a new part now, and we'll continue this tomorrow.